Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Welcome into another
A
episode.
weird way to start.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking. Blink if you can hear me, as if we can see them. Um, welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Wine Wednesday with the same two lovely traders who greeted you this morning for live trading on Good Morning Nasdaq. We are back. Again, Huddie is gallivanting, traveling, doing his thing, so he will not be joining us tonight. But you got us two. Crazy day in the markets,
Oh,
given a new president is now to come into office, and pretty sweet momentum for both longs and shorts. We can happily talk about it, but again, this is probably going to be a lovely Q&A session. We can talk about how we're doing. However, Dom's had a slow, what would you call it? Slow pace back in it. Although he nailed, what was it? What was it? VSTE.
DSTE. I'll probably have to play it again tomorrow,
It was a
but
great one.
yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It looks like I'm a genius.
You literally sold to the top.
Slowly working my way back into it, which is kind of how I feel like, and we can talk about it. Since my incident, it's changed my perspective on life a lot.
You don't
Just in
say.
terms of stress. Yeah, it has. And it kind of makes me wonder about how much stress we put on ourselves when it comes to trading and just the day to day of red or green by how much, selling too early, not selling quick enough. Forget like there's just so many decisions all day that stress you out so much. I feel like that we take with us. And I'm like, now how can I trade and just not care? And I'm like trying to implement like right now, like I don't really care because I'm just getting back into it. I'm like, how can I trade like this forever? Where it's just like it's a pattern, it's over a certain line, under a certain line, hit a trigger. I'm gonna put a stop in, I'm gonna risk a certain amount, and it's either gonna work or it's not, and I'm not gonna have any emotions tied to it, which is the way we talk about it and teach it, but rarely ever do when we go off the rails and stuff. But I want to make it as stress free as possible. I want to lose small when I'm wrong, win multiples when I'm right, all that great stuff. But slow, steady start back. Nice little green week to kick her off. And it looks like we got setups coming. We got stocks moving. I know Foxo kind of got destroyed here in after hours, but still up a lot from where it started. I looked at that at 4 and I was like, oh well, yes, we have something to short later this week and first green day and all that fun stuff. And then I saw it was like 50% off its highs in after hours, and I was like depressed. But we got stuff moving. We got stuff moving. Almost a Billy Boy there, but nice to be back and
Close.
yeah, just gonna try to get in where I fit in, you know. And I didn't fit in this morning with a lot of what Kyle was trading, but some great opportunities. Saw some big traders on Twitter made some big money. I know Kyle's still in it in DJT, rocking and rolling.
I am.
So that's awesome to see.
I am. Which maybe we'll kick off with the first question. Knives started off hot. It's like, am I swinging DJT? And if yes, what's your target? Yes, I am currently still in from this morning. I covered some shares and rebots, or not rebuy. I covered and resorted some shares throughout the day that we talked about in the room. But I am still in. I do plan on swinging overnight. I'm thinking from a goals perspective, at least 30. Maybe starts getting into the 20s. I'm not expecting it to get to the 20s like ASAP. There could be a little bit of choppiness. Who knows? I'm not expecting just like a death. He did win. Like there could be some staying power. But then again, I'm also swinging for if maybe a week from now, 2 weeks from now, it is obviously going to be lower than today's prices. So 30 is the first spot. We'll see how weak it actually is tomorrow, and then maybe we'll evaluate in a week. Maybe I put in like a trailing stop, and once it gets a little too hot and starts bouncing back a bit, we'll consider just taking it off. So that's what we're thinking.
Very nice.
But anyways, what are we drinking tonight? Talk to me.
I have a hibiscus tea that I put into a wine glass. So
Nice.
it's red. It was very hot, almost burned my hand. Forgot that it was glass and that you drink tea out of a
Yeah,
ceramic mug.
a handle.
But if we hold it at the bottom, it doesn't hurt.
What wasn't? Is there something? Is the tea bag still in there? Why did I feel like I saw
Tea bag,
like?
yep, the tea bag's still in there.
Okay.
I like keep it strong, all
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Keep it rolling. I too have no wine tonight. I was rushing back from the gym. There's a little bit of traffic, and so we have the traditional post-workout smoothie that I always usually make. So we're just drinking that. No wine tonight. I feel like I'm gonna puke if I.
You got chocolate in there?
Chocolate protein powder. Yeah.
That works.
So
It was between tea and a hot chocolate, and I was like, let's choose the healthier option.
Oh, I would have been a
But I'm
bad
like, I
boy.
haven't had a hot. I found some mix in the pantry, and I'm like, I haven't had hot chocolate in a long time.
It
And
is
that's a
the
comfort
yeah.
food.
It's coming up. Winter season's coming up here. Some hot chocolate and Christmas.
It is. It was
Yeah.
dark at 5:30 today, so I was like, geez, we still have an hour and a half till Wine Wednesday.
Oh, getting dark for you early. Still light out for me. What is
Yeah.
it?
Well, we
Yeah.
had daylight savings, and it was already getting darker sooner. Now it's like 5:30. It's early.
Early.
It'll be that way for a while,
Yeah. Till when?
but
April, May?
all the way through winter.
Yeah, March, April, somewhere in there. Well, alrighty. Jack Waves, hi Jack, William, Franny, Thomas, more Moritz.
Hit that thumbs up button too. We know there's usually less people here on Wine Wednesday, but doesn't mean we all can't support the channel. Hit that thumbs up button. It is free. I was just talking to the people, the CEOs over at YouTube, and they're telling me it's free.
We have confirmed.
Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed. We post videos every single Monday, long form content, and we're live every day the market's open. So if you don't want to miss out on any of that, hit that thumbs up button for us and subscribe to the channel. Jack Kellogg over in the chat.
Also in the chat, Kellogg, would Kellogg like to join? Do you want to join Kellogg, or are you just in the chat for funsies? No pressure either or. Just thought I'd offer since it's early versus too late. Eric's in the chat. What's
Eric
up, Eric?
Incy.
I miss you, Eric. It's been quite some time. Oh, Jack is hanging out with Eric. That's why Eric's watching. Nice. You guys are
Watching separately together.
together. You guys holding hands, grabbing popcorn,
Ooh, popcorn
doing
sounds good.
Doing some real estate deals while watching.
We
stream?
should start doing themes for Wine Wednesdays,
like
where
what?
we all like make a certain dinner and we eat it together, like, or we have like a special dessert that we all make. Like it's like make
We
your
all-
favorite cookie night,
we all make
like
it
brownie
separately.
night. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be kind of
you know
cool.
what I'm saying? Or like we all do it from our kitchens.
Not cooking related, but on Halloween I was this close to wearing my costume. But
You had a costume. Are you young enough to be still going to parties and stuff?
I mean, technically. Well, actually, no. Huddie and I canceled one because we were exhausted. However, it was either the all-day webinar or one of the webinars. I was like this close to wearing my Halloween costume. But yeah, I wouldn't say parties, but went to a couple gatherings where.
Okay, some
wearing-
get-togethers.
Yeah, wearing a costume was preferred.
And what was the costume?
I was a couple things. I was at one party. I was Austin Powers.
I can see that.
Okay. Another one, I was a Cub Scout because I still have my Cub Scout uniform, and it still technically fits me because it was massive on me when I was
You
8
live
years
you
old.
live your life as a Cub Scout.
Yeah. And didn't make it to Boy Scouts. I quit once I hit 6th grade. I said nope, no.
I didn't make it past Tiger Scout.
What's up?
I didn't make it past Tiger Scout.
Does it go what? Cub, Boy, Tiger, or Tiger?
I don't know. No, it was like the very first one.
Cub. Oh,
Was there a
Tiger, Cub,
Scout?
and then Boy. I didn't make it to Boy Scouts. Only made it to Cub Scouts, and then
A fancy
I
little
wore that on
tie.
actual Halloween, and then another get together. Actually, November 1st, the day after Halloween, there was still another get together, and I was in a banana. I wore a banana suit, or banana. I don't know, onesie. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
What did you do for Austin Powers?
I had an Austin Powers actual suit, blue pants, blue vest, wig, glasses, a little white handkerchief thing.
Very cool. I haven't seen those movies in a while. I remember. Wait, is that the same movie where? No, it can't be.
With
Where
what?
he's like, "Am I too turtly for the Turtle Club?"
Oh no, that's Master of Disguise.
No, okay.
That's a really good one too, though.
That's a classic.
That's
There's probably people
hilarious.
that are too young to even know what those movies are.
I know. I should go back and watch that one. That was really funny though. It's probably one of those ones where you go back and watch it, you realize how dumb it was, but like as a
Yeah.
10-year-old, boy, you're just like laughing so hard at how dumb it is.
Dude, they don't make the dumb movies anymore, like the
No.
dumb comedies.
They don't.
It's like sad to see.
What was one of the last ones? Maybe like Napoleon Dynamite?
Dude, that's a classic. But even like Step Brothers is stupid.
Yeah.
It's like
The scary movies where they're just
Blades of Glory.
yeah.
Like
Tropic
we're
Thunder.
two guys trying to go to the Olympics for um what do you call it? Ice skating? Like, come on. That's something I want to watch. That was back when like the theaters were packed on like those Friday, Saturday nights and like you had to like get your tickets early.
Yeah.
Oh, gone are those days. Now they just release them on Netflix and you're like 3 months later, like, oh, a new movie drop with Kevin Hart.
Yeah, true. I saw a movie on Netflix with Kevin Hart recently. It wasn't that great. It was okay. I forget what it was called though.
Which one was it? Night School?
No, it's called what
The
was it
casino
called?
one?
No, it released this year. It's about him being like a art robber.
Hmm.
What's the name? Do you remember?
Come on, mom.
Movie 2024. Now I'm stuck. Oh, Lift. Lift was the movie name.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, new. It was okay. CGI was bad. Acting was eh. Plot was eh.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's alright. I finished the whole movie though, so it can't be that bad. There was one movie that, not to go on a tangent now, but there was another movie that Kelly and I started maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah, it was supposed to be massive. It did John Cena, it had Dua Lipa, it had Bryan Cranston, it had just a ton of people in it. Argyle, that's what it was. Thank you, Argyle, and we didn't make it past 2 minutes in. It was so bad. It was terrible. We were like, okay, no, we're done. So, anyways, enough about movies. Questions, guys. Feel free to throw them in there.
This, just to let you guys know, this is a trading related podcast. So we do answer questions about small cap trading.
Really, I thought that
If
was
you want
Rot-
us
I
to
thought that was
review,
Rotten
if you
Tomatoes.
want us, if you want us to review movies, start putting those in there, and we will review them if we've seen them. We're not afraid to get after it. We've obviously seen a lot, spanning decades.
Not to age myself, but I've seen quite some movies in my day.
I have seen a lot of movies in my day. My tea is really good. I'm drinking it too fast. Faster than I might drink the wine.
That's funny.
Oh, our first question is one that I don't know how to answer. So for Kyle, how do you guys use expected value in trading?
Great question.
Oh, that's just EV.
Yeah.
Buh.
So
Plus
I,
EV.
I won't use it as well as I should. Lance Breinstein on Twitter's known for pounding the table on this one. And I can't say I use it on a per trade basis, although I make sure I'm pretty much inputting myself in trades with expected value that positive. Like I'm putting myself in positions where it's like it's got these criterias and I have this kind of an entry with this kind of risk reward and this kind of win rate. Like it's expected to be profitable, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be profitable. Where I really use expected value is when I look at my strategy as a whole. And so a good way for me to use that is like I will look up all my average wins, or I'll average all my wins, all my losses, and then win rate, and then do the little formula that expected value is, and I'll be able to look at myself and like, hey, okay, whenever I make a trade, before I even know whether it's a win or loss, my strategy is expected to make X amount of dollars. And you'd actually be surprised how low it is. You'd think, hearing that, like, oh, he probably makes a few thousand. He's expected to make a few thousand per trade. 2024 year to date, or since the end of October, because I did update the numbers at the end of October, expected value is about, let me do that, actually math real quick. That is about just under $1,800. $1,700, $77.50 to be exact. So before I even take a trade, all of my setups combined, my entire system as a trader, I am expected to make $1,700, $77.50 for every trade I take, right? That's how it averages out. Now, obviously, when you look at my average wins, average losses, it's much different than that number, but that's the expected value that I take per trade, and you times that by every trade I've taken this year, you get to exactly how much I am up on the year, and that's how I particularly use it. I am actually very eager and interested to actually watch and get a hold of Lance's magnum opus that he wants to release. I forget at some point here, but he will definitely be going over maybe a more per trade basis on expected value, and I'm actually eager to learn myself on how he uses it, because he obviously crushes it for obvious reasons. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I think EV can also be looked at probably by a pattern to pattern basis, not necessarily in the expected return in terms of money, but what you expect from a pattern specifically. You know, if you're buying a first green day, it's probably some sort of curve where some of them are going to go to like, you know, let's say you buy a stock at a dollar, some are going to go to $1.80, that's the top end of the range, a dollar or I guess lose, and some are going to go like medium, and you kind of want the average of that, and you want to know where like the expected amount. I don't know. I think about it more on a pattern basis of what to expect. I understand the math you're doing. Um, but I think about it too in terms of like poker. The way people talk about it in poker is like, does this move in particular have a positive frequency, like a positive expected value? If you do it a million times, will you be profitable on it? So it's kind of think about why we trade the patterns we do, because we've known that over time they will produce positive results. And that if you just trade randomly, you have negative EV and you're more likely to lose in the long run, even if you lose small and it just takes longer. So I don't think about it too much, but that's kind of how I think about it. I don't think about it that often.
Very nice.
Timmy says, "Hey guys, fun. I'm looking for a flush out under six to cover. Am I being overly optimistic, or what's your take target for something like this?"
Oh, Timmy. Um, Very similar to DGT. I am also swinging PHUN. And I don't know how long I'd have to wait, but I do think in the near future, PHUN sub 6 is not that out of reach. Could it happen tomorrow? I wouldn't expect it to. Could it be there a week from now? I would think so. So yeah, hopefully. I mean, I can't really give you any exacts. I don't know. If I was a fortune teller, I'd happily trade it much differently than I do now, if I could tell the future. But yeah, from daily perspective, this tends to fade back to lows after the hype is over. And if there was any amount of hype that should happen, it was going to be today. And so yeah, now I think it's probably steady fading from here. If I had to, rub my crystal ball and give it a whirl. So
Kyle, what are your thoughts on Doge for the near future?
Doge, the crypto. Where is crypto? Let's look real quick.
11D4.
Wait, what?
11D4.
11D4? What is that?
That's where crypto is today.
Crypto. So I have mixed emotions on meme coins. I think for obvious reasons. One, on a bullish case, they go up a lot in a very short period of time. But on the flip side, I think they go up a lot because they're just true gambles, and people like to gamble, and so therefore it's a double-edged sword, because if you overstay in a meme coin, you certainly can lose all your money, or most of it, especially when crypto is not bullish and looks ugly or is fearful. But however, I do own some Doge and some other meme coins for the sole gamble purpose of, like, when Bitcoin does go nuts, so does meme coins, right? So when Doge was doing absolutely nothing at like 6 cents for months, pretty much all of 2022 and 2023, I did buy some down there because it pretty much started putting in a base and a place I could risk off of safely. And then I would love to sell it next time it goes, pure euphoric. And Bitcoin is up, I don't know, however much percent. And then, whenever you see the bubble, right? Whenever the bubble comes and your neighbor starts asking you about crypto, and you overhear someone at a restaurant saying, "Oh, that's when you sell," right? That's when you get the hell out. So that's what I think about that. That's what I think about pretty much 99.999% of all meme coins. Doge has had the best staying power because it's like the first one to really change some people's lives who were early. But it's also hurt some people's lives who maybe went all in at 80 cents before they went on SNL, and now they're even still down 60, 70, 80% from there. So you got to be careful how you pick your spots when it comes to those. So
Very fun.
yeah.
Very fun. So glad to see you back, Dom. I'm a long buy straight for now. Glad to be back. Here's an interesting one from Rocky Rax.
What's up,
How do you
Rocky?
manage your emotions day by day after you're doing well? I feel good when I'm on a win streak and sad when I'm on a losing streak. How do you manage your emotions day by day? Well, that is pretty common. What you would expect people to feel good when things are good and bad when things are bad. I think it really depends on the person. I think it's a habit you really have to build across your entire life. I think Kyle is probably one of the best I've ever seen do this in terms of going through drawdowns and just keeping his mind on the prize and knowing that any one given day, any one given week, it could all change. And you almost have to prove that to yourself at some point. You have to be kind of naive, to like, and you have to allow yourself to have some sort of success, so that way you have something to fall back on. Because what keeps you positive when things are going bad is the realization, kind of the EV that we're talking about, that eventually it will turn around and you will go on a win streak, or you will have a big trade, or if the opportunities haven't been there and you've been making a lot of mistakes and forcing stuff, that there will be good opportunities. It's kind of like, are you the type of golfer who hits one bad shot and throws your club and ruins the entire round? Or can you have the patience to go, oh, there's 17 holes to go. It could still improve. There have been times when I've gotten a triple bogey on the second hole and shot one of my better rounds, right? Like, it's kind of having that proof, but also being naive enough to know that it's possible and it's most likely going to change. Even if it's not life changing, the streak will end in one way or the other, because it's almost impossible to lose without having any winners. That's why people stick around with trading even when they're not succeeding, because they have those winners, they have those streaks. But I think it's a habit you have to control, and the number one way to control that, you're going to have losing streaks, but which is why I think it's so important to control losses from the beginning, because you're going to inevitably go on big losing streaks. How do you make those losses small so you can get the good lessons out of them without getting tilted?
Yeah, that's a great point there. Which is having that confidence to fall back on. And this is why we had what was it, maybe a month ago? A month and a half ago, where we talked about some guy who was on the stream and he was saying, "Oh, I've had a good run and now I'm having a bad run and I don't know what to do. Like, please help." And then I think it was William Greger, who asked him, like, "Well, how long have you been trading?" He goes, "Oh, I've been trading for 3 months." And it's like, no wonder you're having a tough time, because you had a false sense of confidence that you were right. Now, Rocky, I know for context for the stream, I know Rocky personally. And I know he's been trading a long time and has found success and has gone through some trials and tribulations of adapting and finding new strategies as the market changes. And so, yeah, if you're still in a little bit of that transition phase, Rocky, I know you're probably at least better than we last talked. But yeah, when you're going through losing streaks and you're still on an uneasy path to maybe rebuilding that foundation of what really makes you consistent money in the markets, like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to feel good when you're losing. Because, right, like Dom said, you don't have that confidence or that level of support in your system of like, hey, it might be a bad 2 weeks, but I trust my strategy to play out over the long run. On the flip side, though, too, I also agree with what Don was saying about you also have to be naive. And I think this is where my strength comes in, where I don't view myself as dumb in any way, but I will view myself as like a goldfish. Okay. So if I take a loss and it's within the range of what I'm willing to lose, I will forget about it very quickly. Because, like, for example, I took a loss on Foxo today. I have already forgotten about it. Why? Because 1, it was part of my strategy. 2, I took the loss the way I should have. And 3, I trust the strategy that it was, that I'm going to keep making money on it long term. I've already forgotten about it. Now, some bigger losses than others can hurt, and so that's why you have to really make sure you don't do that, because if you take a way bigger loss that takes a hit beyond your P&L, but to hit to your confidence, that's when things get really, uneasy, and you have to start slow or size down or take a break or do whatever you got to do to kind of rebuild yourself back up. But I would be a goldfish, and in terms of being a goldfish, I would detach from the profits or losses. Like, even if, on the flip side, even if you're having a win streak, try to just not care. And this is where trading it sucks, because it's frustrating, because to get that good, you almost have to take the fun out of trading, right? You have to, the dreams or the adrenaline or the dopamine that people feel or think of when they think about making their first $1,000 trade, $10,000 trade, 6-figure trade, $1 million trade, whatever it is. The only way it really ever starts to happen frequently is if you take away that emotion and you're just like, oh, okay, another day, where it desensitizes you to a point where it's almost kind of sad, in a sense of like, wow, I got into trading to do this and not feel a thing. But on the flip side, that's how some of these amazing traders get to that point in the first place, because they truly do detach. It doesn't mean they don't have those emotions regularly or frequently, but they don't let it stick around and linger, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I think the opposite side of that is, I think, really how you handle win streaks as well. Like, it's really hard. Like, if you're the guy that is jumping up and down, screaming, posting the pick emoji when a stock is dropping like a rock, or when you make a big 10-to-1 type of trade, and all you can think about is how you're going to spend that money, or how you just get pumped up and jacked. And you're like, the market's here forever. You're almost setting yourself up to force yourself to be super negative when you inevitably go on that losing streak or you take some losses. So I agree with Kyle. You have to kind of be even keeled, act like you've been there before. Never get too high, never get too low. Because if you do, you're always going to be on one end of the spectrum and you're never going to be in the middle. And then what I find happens when you're never in the middle is that you never have a break even day. You never have a 1 hour loss day or 1 hour win day. You're always pushing for, it has to be a 5 hour day or a negative 5 hour day. It has to be bad enough to make me feel pain or good enough to make me feel like it's a profit. And I find those weeks and months are really, really painful because you're on this ride that you feel like you can't get off. And then another thing I was thinking about is you kind of have to reframe what a loss means to you. And it's kind of, again, what Kyle was saying, like, you take a trade and you believe in the idea of the pattern and you trade it how you want, you stop out where you want, like that, you shouldn't think twice about a trade like that. Like, if it happens 5 times in a row, you can just accept the fact that the pattern's not working right now, and that might be frustrating in and of itself. But on a day-to-day basis, you really can't, you should only be upset when you're breaking rules, when you oversize, when you add to a loser, when you don't cut at your risk. When you're breaking rules, you're allowed to be frustrated, and you should be focused on fixing it. But if it's within your system, when you start getting frustrated with that can really affect your trading and change your trajectory, because you're no longer trading the system that inevitably is going to upswing it at some point, and you start making changes that out of emotion that are going to take you off script and put you probably more down in a drawdown hole than you want to be.
Last thing I'll say on that too, because you made a good point there, Don, more in like if you're posting memes and if you actually feel that way. And so for context, if anyone's in the room knows that, like, if I'm up on a profit or something's panicking and I'm a short, I'll send these funny gifs of like celebrating or the pig out the window. For true context, I send that because, one, it's funny, but two, 90% of the time,
people love it.
If you actually saw my face, I'm like this. I'm watching the stock like this, and I literally will type in the meme, like pig wee meme, send it, and just like this, right? So even though I'm, communicating that emotion, it's like, in terms of focus, I'm not actually running around my apartment, screaming wee. It's more just fun. So, but yeah, very good point there.
Yeah, and then you don't want to get too serious about it, because then every single tick, if you find yourself like angry with every uptick if you're short and every downtick if you're long, even though, and I hear this in my own office, and there's probably some people watching who've been in my office where they've stopped out of stocks because the short-term trend is broken or it downticked and it looks scary, and I'm like, what was your risk level? And and it's like 30 cents lower, and I'm like, why do you care? It's nowhere near your risk level. But if you're so emotional about every up and down tick, then something else is going on, and you need to downsize, or you need to figure out a way to trust your plan. And there are so many emotions. That's why this is such a long answer for both of us, because that can really be the difference between success and failure when it comes to trading.
Totally.
If you want to answer, Jack wants to know how much you're up today, realized and unrealized, on Gap and Craps, DJT.
Yeah, Gap and Craps, 0 unrealized because I'm not swinging any. Realized I'm up like 7K on the day. I made 11K from SONN because of the offering. I made 5K from DATS. Unfortunately, with some slippage on FOXO, I lost 9, which, although isn't really, I'm usually risking about 8K on Gap and Crappers, so not too big of a deal. But between the three, I'm up 7K there. And then on DJT and Fun, I am doing the math there, 90, almost just under 10K realized, and about 23K unrealized on DJT and Fun. So
very fun.
And then Jack says, "Don't talk to me about Bitcoin." Yeah, you don't you don't care about that one, Jack. Don't you worry.
Um, Very nice. Yes, I do have a facial hair filter on. I just like it. So leave me alone. Iman says, how important are the macros for you in general? Like trade the matrix. Always really interesting, but how do you guys dive into macros? What is that?
Like the macro environment. Where's the question? Let me read it here. Part macros in your general trade, like trade the matrix. I'm sure that's somebody on Twitter. I would assume. Always really interesting, but how much do you dive into? Yeah, not a ton. I like to follow maybe the macro environment. Like I'm always not always, but I'm typically listening in on the Fed meetings and when their interest rates are rising or decreasing, or I don't really look too much in like the jobs numbers or anything like that. Just not a ton. It's more for my own personal liking. It's not for any particular reason why I would then trade differently, especially in small cap. So how important? 1%, not a whole. I mean, it gets important when it's like, okay, we've just, I don't know, for whatever reason, a recession just hit, and now the spy's gonna start panicking. Like, yeah, that I will then adapt and be like, okay, maybe small cap's not gonna be as aggressive or risk seeking as it would if we were in a bull market. But day to day, hour to hour, it doesn't really matter to me personally. So
Yeah, I still don't get quite what they mean, so I'm gonna go not that. All I really care about is the pattern, which is to my detriment at times, but it makes the trading quite easy.
yeah.
Someone basically wants to know they shorted DJT as well. What was your plan today for entry, position sizing, taking profits, and are you happy with it?
Good
Can always,
questions.
if you watch our um Good Morning Nasdaq episode this morning, he did it all live on camera as well.
Yeah. So if you want maybe a more detailed answer, you can watch that live stream. It is under our playlists. But a very basic answer is I wanted wide to risk out the open just in case it was going to be a little choppy. So I was on a starter position. I was willing to risk as wide as 55. I was kind of going into the trade willing it to be a swing trade. So even though starting it and risking $10 a share from 45 to 55 isn't ideal, I also knew there was going to be plenty of time for me to add and then swing and move my risk down. So that's kind of was how it went. The only part maybe I'm not so happy about is the sizing could have been a bit bigger. In the approach of taking wide risk and patience trade plan.
Get that water in.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it backfired, but it made me a little bit lackadaisical. But the problem is, I also wanted to do that. I didn't want to make any emotional decisions. I didn't want to feel super stressed. I wanted to be able to see the trade play out. Like Dom said, I didn't want to be hanging on every upticker, downticker, up haul, down haul, because it almost did that fairly multiple times out the open. So, is there a world I could have had an extra couple thousand shares on? Sure, but I'm happy for how I traded it because it was pretty smooth. It was headache free. And I currently like I just told Jack, between realized and unrealized, I could cover right now for almost 25 grand. I mean, it's not every day you can ask for a pretty stress-free 25K. So, I can't complain too much about it. So,
Don't complain too much, right?
yeah.
Boo 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 boo. William says he's the guy that is literally excited like the pig. He gets pumped. Glade says at Jack Dom, did you trade Foxo for the multi-day breakout? Foxo is not a multi-day breakout, so no. It's a day one gapper. Did a ton of volume, but I'm looking at the daily chart right now, and the stock hasn't done anything in 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month. The tiniest of volume 5 months ago. Multi-day breakout would mean it has to run and then consolidate for a few days and then break out, hence multi-day. Like you said, the stock hasn't ran in the last multi-days. So this is just a day one gapper that squeezed some people out, got going. 20s to the dollar, make you holla.
Now down huge in after hours. So,
Yeah, it's sad. I really was hoping we got a nice big runner for Friday or Monday.
yeah.
William says, with Trump in office, how do you think rate cuts going on? You guys think so much. So much.
I don't think it changes much. I think the Fed's going to be on its own path, regardless. I mean, maybe Trump says something harsher to Powell than Biden would have, but they're already in a lightening up process, and so I think that continues regardless that Trump's in office now. So nice haircut, thank you, appreciate it.
I was gonna say that too at some point.
Got it yesterday.
But you were talking, and then William says, "Dang, you guys made me have to take a drink of water there. You were drinking, and then I started chugging one too. It was good." I would love to hear your thoughts on ELWS. I'm looking right now. Blech. It's a 3-day breakout. It is a multi-day breakout. Went from 450 to, well, that's a lot of range for what looks like a weird day today. But it wasn't on my radar. Volume today is quite poor. I think it's only 6 million today.
Yeah.
So that's a multi-day breakout, multi-month breakout. You know, it's obviously what. Am I frozen? No. Okay.
We were for a second there.
For the previous question, this is a multi-day breakout over 463, multi-month breakout over 520. It has obvious prior levels to break out over. I just wasn't watching this just because, well, I haven't really been watching anything. But nice little 3-day move here. That got going 450 to 7s, but it was kind of a choppy day. It wasn't like the cleanest move ever. So I don't really have thoughts on it. If it went crazy and ran a lot further, I'd probably be interested in a short, but it's kind of gone now for a long for me.
William, he's talking about ELWS. Yeah, volume's low. I wish it was higher. It would be a lot better if it was higher. Or
If it
volume
was the
higher.
only thing I was watching this morning, I probably would have played it, but I didn't even have it on radar.
Yeah.
And who knows how good I would have done because this is some choppy action.
Trade Force says, when weed Wednesday? I don't think ever.
Huddie probably always.
Yeah, Huddie probably, but I think Dom and I we're not really big weed smokers.
No, it used to be. The second I started trading, I stopped.
Nice.
Once I finally got a job that didn't matter about me doing it. Jay says I have 1.3 non-adjusted rate. You guys are really hitting us with some some frustrating.
You're
some in-depth
technicalities
stuff.
with Dom tonight, guys.
I have a 1.3 non-adjusted ratio, 60% winning average, and I've traded for 4 years. Need some motivation to overcome selling too soon. I track and know I could hold for 1.7 plus. Sitting out of setup, small size. Need some over.
Jay, you might be too smart for us. I don't think either of us know.
What's a non-adjusted ratio?
Yeah, we're misinformed here. Do you mean is that like a profit?
If we know that, I think we can maybe figure it out.
Risk reward
But in terms
ratio?
of just talk about selling too soon, because you say I know I could hold for 1.7 plus. What types? I mean, I guess it matters what type of pattern you're trading, like, because you can't just in theory get more if the pattern's not there or if the risk reward's not good enough, or
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying? Hear you?
Okay, there we go. We're back. So yeah, 1.3 loser or winner to loser. Motivation to overcome selling too soon. I mean, when you reflect on your trades, are you? I'm assuming you're saying that because you sell, and then you see the stocks go up against you, or sorry, without you, numerous times in a row. You know, and if that's the case, for me, you know, I don't want to say they use the word pain, but like inefficiency motivates me. And I use that word because you're saying motivation. Like if I have 10 trades in a row and all 10 of them I sold too soon or covered too soon, like I would have made an adjustment after trade 3. You know, like if we're in a market environment where the last 3 red days went 10% lower than I covered, I am immediately making an adjustment and be like, okay, the last 3 have gone way lower than I expected. I will be holding for longer, no matter how uncomfortable or how uneasy it makes me feel.
And if those next 3 all go a little short to where you covered before, are you then making another adjustment to go, okay, maybe it's just somewhere in between these is a better spot I can always cover?
Yeah, 100%. You know, because right, you might, to that point, you might be holding for the next 3, and the next 3 don't go as low as the first 3, so you're now like, oh, what happened? But it's adjustments, and so when you say motivation, it's like, do you just not care? Are you happy with the 1.3 that you have? And you're just, like if you're making good money, if you're able to live off your trading and paying the bills and put some money in the bank for cloudy, like rainy day, like some people get a little complacent. That's totally fine. Like if you're in the top 10% and trading to live, or trading for a living, like I get it. But if you want more out of it, then I think that alone is the motivation. Like I want to make more money, so I'm going to make adjustments. So I wonder if you want to give more context, then feel free. But that's how I've constantly adapted, always, on what I'm seeing.
I think 1.3 with a 60% win percentage is kind of tight. I feel like that's where you could have some bad weeks and months, because I just feel like that's not the best risk reward with that win percentage. Because you would think 1.3, like I don't know what your numbers are for gap and craps. Kyle, do you have your average winner to loser? Are you willing to share that or no?
No, I'll share that. My gap and craps risk reward wise are pretty bad. I'll not lie.
I don't want to see that plus your win percentage though.
Yeah. Risk reward is actually slightly negative, guys. It is average win is average win is $4,140. Average loser is $4,618. So we're like
1-to-1, 1.0.
Yeah, if you round it up 1-to-1, if you want to be accurate, it's like 0.9. So negative risk reward technically. However, win rate is 68.97%. That is the highest win rate I have in almost all of my setups. And that is the edge for me on gap and craps. It's not the risk reward, it's the win rate.
And I think that's where I was going, was that with those type of numbers, you trade those quite big. Those are bigger than your average trade risk, because you know that it has to be for the money to be worth it for you, right?
Yeah.
With that data, you have to risk more because you trust the setup. You have your numbers, and you know that it's going to average out to that. And today you had a bigger than expected win on the one that did the offering. You had the full size loss plus a little more. Like, it's all averaging out, but the motivation to overcome selling too soon. I think it's pattern by pattern. You mentioned you trade multiple different setups. Every setup's going to have different sell plans. I sell a lot differently. That VSTE plan I took today was like 4 candles, and I was in and out because it did my plan. Kyle is super patient on his DJT. Maybe it's price. He's selling because of a price. Maybe he's selling for how many days he wants to hold. Maybe it's because of previous breakout level or resistance level or support level. I try to really break down my plan, and every plan is a little bit different in terms of what is going on with that specific setup. Not necessarily overall. I want to get 1.7 on all of them. My goal is across the board to make 2-to-1 on average, right? Average winner being 2x bigger than my average loser. And I don't go out of my way to do that in every trade if it doesn't work out to be that way. Like there are just some trades where 2-to-1 is best case scenario, but I think it's going to happen frequent enough that the trade's worth it. So I think it's something you have to continue to tinker with. But if you really focus on pattern by pattern, play to play, and focus on just maximizing that one pattern instead of trying to conform and go, I want this, I need 3-to-1. And so you're putting yourself in a position where the stock has to break out on a first green day, and it's just unlikely. You're just kind of screwing yourself over because you're trying to get some stat that isn't possible on that particular play. So if that makes sense, it's really hard to do without being in your shoes. But
he adds a little more context. He says, yeah, I agree. It's tight. I have a hard time doing what I say. Sounds like you do what you say you will. I got to work on that. Thanks for the advice. So yeah, if it's just like you have a trade plan, you're like, I'm going to sell here, and for whatever reason you just sell sooner. Yeah, it comes down to discipline. I mean, I don't want to say trade. It's not trading your P&L, but trade your trade plan and only your trade plan. Like almost be a little bit too strict just to get yourself out of this funk of like, if you're long something at say $1, I don't know, just hypothetical scenario, and you say your goal is to sell at 150. Try to make it a practice of like, I will not sell a single share till it's 150. And yeah, sometimes you're going to end up giving back gains, right? You're going to see it go to 140 and then back down. And you're going to maybe take a loss. That's a little bit too strict. So maybe over time you'd get back to being flexible in terms of how you sell or scale out. But like to just practice to do what you say you're going to do. If you make a trade plan, like stick to it. So for me, it's like DDT, I'm thinking 30 minimum. So I'm being a little bit strict on this one because I'm a little bit convicted on the sell the news idea. But like for me, I don't plan on covering a single share until $30. And if it comes back against me and I give back profits, so be it. That's my trade plan. I'm sticking to it. No ifs, ands, or buts. Yes, there'll be a little bit of flexibility if tomorrow comes out and there's a, Trump says something and it starts making it a little more spiky, then yeah, maybe I'll adapt. But for the time being and how it is right now, it's like I'm sticking to my trade plan, no ifs, ands, or buts. So.
And I'd rather a trader do that, even if I don't agree with their plan, than have them constantly changing it, which is why I think
Right.
sometimes chat rooms can be kind of not beneficial, because I think a lot of people, when Kellogg's in there, see his plans and they kind of adjust their plans the way he's doing. Or maybe if Kyle's short something and they're long it, a lot of these gappers, Kyle's almost always going to be short them, but there's definitely people who want to long them. And the commentary sometimes scares, especially beginners, into changing their plan. I'd rather you just make a plan, because you'll learn so much more by making a plan every night, following it perfectly, and by your results, you'll know if your plan is right or wrong more often than not. And at least you have some consistency to lean back on and go, okay, I'm obviously wrong in my big picture, or I'm obviously wrong in the way that I'm calculating risk reward, or my entry's wrong, or my exit's wrong. And you can fix it one thing by one thing versus constantly having this different plan where, you know, which Kyle's telling you exactly what he's going to do from start to finish on the trade before he ever takes the trade. You should be able to do that on all your trade plans. And I think most people enter and then figure it out. I think that's why there's so much discrepancy in the stats.
Yeah, good point. William asks, do you guys ever have a goal on a specific dollar amount you would like to make in a trade or a day? I've been a pretty not a proponent, an opponent against this, if that's said correctly. I've never been a fan of having a daily P&L goal, or even a per trade goal, and I've started hunkering down on myself to do this more so. Where I'm really focused on doing is having I wouldn't say daily risk goal, but like if I'm taking a trade and I deem it to be C, B, A plus, wherever I grade it to start the morning, if that calls for a certain amount of dollar risk, I am determined to risk that dollar amount, right? So I'm committed to risking the dollar amount I say I'm going to, not how much I want to make or lose, or not how much I want to make per day, per week, per month, right? If I can get my risk first in a strategy that works, the reward will work itself out. Because there's just too many days that are so irregular, right? One day you get 4 gap and grabs, the next day you get 0. 1 week you get 3 first red days in a row, the next week you get none. It just adds an extra layer of stress that I don't think is necessary. Of like, I want to make $1,000 a day. So okay, Monday I got it, good. Tuesday I got a little bit more, okay, even great. Oh, but Wednesday I lost money. Oh my gosh, now I'm behind. Now I need to, make $3,000 on Thursday to make it up for it. Like trading's too irregular to be putting that level of strict stress on like I need to make this amount of money per day, because then it forces trades. It makes you feel like you're behind when you're not. When it's just an irrational mental race you're having with yourself. Like it's not. I'm rambling here, but I'm not a fan of that. I'm just not.
Yeah, every time I've ever done that, and I think about like the height of when I was making the most money is when I started doing that, and it's when I started losing the most money, and when I was the most unhappy with my trading, when I was giving away 6 figures in profits because it wasn't enough, because I wanted to hit a new record, because I wanted to make 120, I wanted to make 130, I needed to make 80 on this breakout, whatever it was, and I was not doing anything we were just talking about in terms of making a plan and sticking to it. It was regardless of my size, if I didn't get enough, then the stock just had to go further, and it was like I was putting my will on the stock versus letting a plan play out and just focusing on the actual price action. I don't do that anymore. I kind of let the market dictate how my day goes. I don't especially. I think that's too short of a time frame. Day to day. I mean, I think you can have monthly goals, an average of weekly goals, yearly goals, but when it's I got to do this today, there's just no guarantee that the opportunities are going to be there.
Right.
And even when the opportunities are there, you can totally screw yourself over. Like if you went into today with like ducks, thinking it has to be today, I got to make a killing today, and you're wrong. Are you prepared to lose huge on a one-off day that might destroy your month? Or like some people are, right? If you're a big type of hit the home run and get out of here for a few months, it might be worth it. But if you're a day-to-day trader grinding and you're looking for that 1.5, 2 to 1 type of average winner loser, you don't want to be coming in here and going, okay, today's the day. Look at the opportunities. I got to make 30 to 1. And that puts you in a position to lose 30 to 1. it happens like that, right? You get so it's like I think Schwartz used to talk about it. It's like you always lose the most on the trades you have the most excitement for, like the
Yeah.
highest quality setups, the most A plus, and that's because we put so much pressure on them to pay us the most.
Yeah, great point. This is an interesting question. What amount of money is set for life money by your standards? Can it be made from trading? Yeah, I mean that's different for everybody, but can it be made from trading? Absolutely. I think that's true for most people, unless your standards are absolutely ridiculous and you want to be a billionaire from trading. Then like,
Probably
good
be the
luck.
first.
You don't need that much money as you think you do. Like most people wouldn't even be able to find ways to spend $100 million, let alone a billion. But I'll be transparent. For me, what amount of money? So that's maybe the misconception when it comes to maybe being a millionaire, in at least these days with inflation. $1 million is awesome. Don't get me wrong. It's a great start. It makes you quite comfortable for anyone at any age. But it's not, you can't live off it anymore, so to speak, for most people. Given, if you're $1 million, and it also depends on age. I guess you're asking it for us. Dom's 30, I'm 28. If we were both given $1 million,
29.
29. Sorry, Huddie's 30. Dom's 29.
Don't put me in the 30.
Yeah, don't put you in the threes yet. If you gave Dom and I $1 million, it would be great. Absolutely, no questions asked. But we wouldn't be able to live off that money for the rest of our lives, right? That would be trying to live off of $30K a year for the next 30 years, and we would even be in our 50s yet, or sorry, 60s yet, and like that money would have run out a long time ago. $1 million just isn't what it once was in like maybe the early 2000s or the 1990s, or the 80s, etc. For me, how much would I need to live the life at my standards currently how it is right now, and then never need to make another dollar again?
Oh, that's such an impossible question.
Yeah, it's tough. But if I can mathematically, let's just say I live till I'm 80, and let's round me up that I'm 30. So I got 50 more years to live. I, roughly speaking, between vacations, some nicer things in life sometimes that I enjoy doing. Some people say money can't make you happy, but there are some things that I've done that are expensive, but have brought immense convenience and happiness to my life versus not having those things. So if I do the math, let's do the calculator. Let's see, how much would that need to be?
If you want 100K a year, it's 5 million. If you want to spend 100K a year
times 50. I went a little bigger. I said $250,000 a year. I wouldn't spend all that money, but
Jeez Louise.
That would make me very comfortable. I would need
drive your Tesla all day long.
I would need $12.5 million. And this is where I get maybe a little bit extreme.
And it's probably going to cost you more than that at some point in 20 years.
And that's exactly why when people say, "Oh, you've made $5 million, like it's awesome. You could like stop working." I'm like, "No, I can't." Even if I live off say $100K a year, $100K a year now is going to be peanuts in 30 years from now. Yeah. So even though I did the math of like 250, maybe that's kind of why I subconsciously did $250K a year, because $250K now I could live off that easily. In 20, 30 years, maybe that's like the average income for some people. Who knows how crazy inflation can get. So, call me an extreme looking forward of how I think, inflation will go, but like it can get nuts. So I'm a bit more on the cautious side of like, I'd rather have more and not need it than not enough and then need it, so.
Yeah, I don't have the right answer.
Yeah, it's
just be happy. Do what makes you happy. If trading makes you happy and it can give you an income, if you want to, you could do other things with that money. It means if it's your starter pack, get you to $1 million, then invest in real estate, Bitcoin, other markets, whatever it is. I see a lot of people do that. Knives says, let's be honest, you also love the market, Kyle. That's the other thing. We do love what we do in trading, and I don't think Kyle would do it anymore if he didn't love it. He'd probably do something else.
Yeah. No, even if he gave me $12 million, I'd be here tomorrow trading. I'd be trading less. There would definitely be more days I take off for sure. But yeah, of course, I would have my thumb on the pulse, most days for sure.
All right, running low on time. Let's answer this question because it's an interesting one. AK says, why not trade large caps with bigger size for the same gains as pennies without the volatility? I would say because I don't understand the volatility of large caps. Every time I look at them, try to trade them, I'm not a scalper, so I don't see the short term moves. I don't. I feel like the levels don't matter as much. Like low a day when it gets put in after 10 minutes doesn't really mean anything. Same with high a day. Um, First red days can be great starts to bigger moves up. I truthfully, every time I look at large caps, I'm more confused than when I look at a day one gapper, and I don't trade day one gappers. So I think you have to go where I don't think it's as easy as just trade the same patterns on large caps because it's not that easy. I don't think, and I lose when I trade large caps.
Yeah, I think another way to say that too is sure there's the volatility in small caps that make it inherently more risky, but I think we trade that off for predictability. Kind of what Dom was saying. Like, sure there are plenty of large or mid cap traders that trade patterns and do well with them. But I think Dom and I have found our niche and what works for us in a world where things can be insanely more predictable than, if we're going to talk about large caps. Like, I don't know what large caps maybe they're referring to, but like, I'm not going to trade Apple tomorrow and have any clue what Apple's going to do tomorrow. Zero.
I just don't know why I get sometimes like a Tesla goes on a crazy bull run, or that makes sense to me when they should pull back or when they should have bounces. But even just actually trading those days, I find myself getting stopped out even though they work.
Yeah.
I like people who trade the SPY every day. Like, I don't know, how am I supposed to know what it's going to do? I need some more context. I need a stock to be up from $1 to 12 and just have that inherent knowledge that it ain't holding up at 12.
It has nothing going for it. Yeah. It's just the vehicle. Yeah. Yeah. There's not 500 companies being valued at the SPY's valuation with 10 different analysts and 32 different catalysts. And it's like, guess which way it's going today? It's not necessarily the easiest thing. So
could I figure it out? Probably. But then I probably wouldn't be trading small caps. And I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Every time I look at it, I get more confused.
Yeah. And Knives makes a good point. There's an edge everywhere. You just got to put the time in. And totally. I don't think any of us are saying that there isn't an edge in large cap. It's just one that we as traders, Dom and I, don't gravitate towards. When we look to our right and we see small caps, we're like, oh, that seems a lot more straightforward. Vice versa, someone who does trade the SPY all day and truly does get it might look at us and be like, I have no idea what small caps are going to do. It's all point of view. It's all, environment you learned and grew up in terms of the trading world. Like, whatever floats your boat. But that's where Dom and I are floating in our boats. So
on that lake,
on the lake
of small caps, someone brought up the ELWS, and that thing just all of after hours cruised ever since we got live. And it was just cruising for a bruising up towards 8.
Well, all right, everyone. That is the hour. A lot of great questions today. Thanks for coming in and being active and joining us here tonight. Tomorrow, 8:45 Eastern, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think Huddie will be there again, so it'll be me and Dom once more. And yeah, have a great Wednesday night. Have a good, I don't know, it's 8 o'clock for most people, so maybe you're already eating dinner. I gotta eat some dinner. But anyways, yeah, have a good time. For the Clovers, a webinar tomorrow with with Dom and I as well. Dom and I are just tag teaming this week together. And we'll see you guys then. Peace out, everybody.
Bye, everybody.